Welcome everyone to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about the Twilight Zone Season 3, Episode 7. It's called The Grave. So full spoilers for the episode as always. This episode starts with the classic western shootout in which the character by the name of Pinto dies, and it follows the aftermath of that when the man who was hunting him, a gentleman named Connie, played by Lee Marvin, strolls into town to find out that the man he was hunting is already being killed, and from there his bravery is questioned from some of the locals, who, you know, this is the Pinto's hometown, and it was the hometown who kind of paid this man to go looking for him in the first place. He was an outlaw, wanted in several states, that kind of thing. Your typical kind of like, you know, western, you know, lawman kind of bounty style thing. So that's the general premise, but ultimately it becomes this bet of trying to force him to go and visit the grave, which he may or may not be too scared to do. We'll get into the kind of the details in a bit. But Tara, how did you find the grave?
I think this is a really strong episode looks wise. Like, it looks really good. Mm-hmm. I think it's shot really well. As far as like how the plot goes, I think it's okay.
I'm conflicted with this one. Or, not conflicted, that's not the right term here. I think the right term is probably frustrated. I'm frustrated because I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it when it started. And as it was going, I actually found myself getting really into it. I thought a lot of the stuff in the bar was really well done, because that's the majority of the episodes in the bar, and I think the reason why it's well done is because, you know, this character of Connie comes into town, he finds out, we get his reaction to finding out that this Pinto's already been killed, and then we get these three other characters talking to him and kind of egging him on, and then starting to like question him and question if he was like scared and he wasn't really chasing him as hard as he could have been. But we get more and more of these little details, and I think the reason why I was getting so engrossed during this is because there was a bit of a mystery as to exactly what the relationship was with him and this Pinto, outside of the fact that he was chasing him, or supposed to be. It felt like there was more to it, and there was a mystery that was slowly being unravelled through the questions that were being asked, through the reactions he was having to various things they were saying. But I'm frustrated because I felt like the ending goes for this just kind of very, very ambiguous thing. And I don't mind the ambiguity when it comes to the supernatural, was there something happened element. The ambiguity there's fine. I felt like there was still supposed to be something like revealed about what his relationship with this Pinto was. Like, I felt like there was more to it, and it never did anything else. It never said, oh, this is what was really going on. It wasn't just that he was scared of like catching up to him because he didn't believe he could take him on in a gunfight. Right. It wasn't that. It was something else.
You're right. And I mean, because they built up this whole thing where he shows up, Lee Marvin shows up, and he says like, who shot him though? Like, the whole town shot him, but he needs to know who. So I thought maybe there was going to be more to like, it seems like he has unfinished business, and there was going to be more about that or something, but instead we just get like the dead man's sister coming through and giving us ghost stories. Yeah, I guess he's just afraid of ghosts. He's not actually afraid of the guy, or I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I think the episode, unfortunately, does kind of like turn it into just about him being afraid of the guy rather than ghosts. Because, like I say, a lot of the stuff when they were trying to egg him on, it felt like there was more to it, and it was just far too simple what they were suggesting. But by the end of the episode, it actually almost made it less interesting by just seemingly turning it into like what they were saying, which is that he was a bit of a coward, perhaps, and just didn't want to admit it. But that was like, I don't know, the character felt more layered to that to me, or at least what was going on felt more mysterious.
Maybe because it's played by Lee Marvin, who's like a really great actor, and it was fun to see him in something like so early.
I mean, yeah, but I also think that the script, to be honest, is pretty good up until the last, like, you know, 4 or 5 minutes. The conversation in the bar is actually really good at just drawing out parts of the backstory, parts of the mystery gradually, piece by piece. And it you know, it became this thing where I'm like, you know, what is this going on? Like, were they secretly like actually best friends, and that's why because when he's asking, okay, who actually killed him, and then they're like, well, 8 of us shot at him, but only 1 person actually hit because we're kind of crap. But we don't actually know.
Which is why we hired a gunman.
Yeah, but we don't know which one of his was the actual landing shot. And I thought that the episode at that point when he said that was going to be about him trying to figure out who the person was. So
that's what I was thinking also.
Yeah, maybe to get revenge, or maybe for some other reason. But I thought it was like a really important detail. But then it kept adding stuff about the layers of like, okay, so he was hunting him from like town to town, state to state, and like. And he's like, he said that he almost tried to get caught. He was waiting for you. He basically sent you a letter saying, hey, I'm in Albuquerque, come and find me. And he never shown. And then, of course, Connie responds to that by saying, no. I mean, he lied even on his deathbed. I did go to Albuquerque. I searched every inn, every bar, everywhere I could. He wasn't there long enough to even rent a room for a night. And it's like, okay, there's something going on here. There's something that he's hiding. Yeah. But it always felt to me that it was more interesting than just he was scared to actually face him. It always felt like it was more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I guess that's what the ending means. I sort of interpreted it as it's not that he was afraid of the man, but that he was afraid of ghost stories. And because of the sister and stuff, like, sort of acting a little witch-like when she, like, the way she laughs and stuff in the bar. I mean, that's what I thought he was afraid of. But I think you're right. I think he was just afraid the entire time of the actual man, even when he was dead.
Even after death. But I mean, I'm saying
he
that
was like secretly a coward.
I'm saying that ultimately that's what the episode does with it, but that's not what I was actually thinking throughout most of the episode. I thought it was more interesting than that. I want to make that clear, because I actually thought it was going to be more intriguing than just he was scared of him the whole time. It felt like it was more to it than that, because honestly the ending is easily the weakest part of the episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it gets to this point where the sort of loudmouth character essentially implies that he's a coward, and then tries to bet him a $20 gold coin to go up to the grave and just visit the grave. He reckons that he's too scared to do that, and Conway's like, no. Connie. Whips out a coin and says, yeah, I've got one too. I'll see that bit. And then the other guy, who's of course what's his face, Lee Van Cleef, is like, I'll bet you too. Do you have another one there? We'll make it more interesting. And it becomes this thing where it's like, okay, to prove that you've done it, like, take this knife and, like, stick it in his grave, and if it's still there in morning, we'll know that you've done it. And no one else is going to go up there. Everyone's too scared to visit his grave. And it's like, okay. All right, I'm kind of liking this setup, and I like the build up of him going up to the grave. He sees the sister who's leaving the grave on the way in, and I didn't really feel that here or there for her, to be honest. She was kind of this weird element of the episode.
I thought she was a little out of place in the story, because maybe it was because I saw Lee Van Cleef and Lee Marvin and thought, this is like a real Western that I'm watching. And she feels like the most Twilight Zone element in the episode. But, so, I mean, she shouldn't feel out of place, but she sort of does.
Yeah. I mean, I like the spectre of the dead man sort of weighing over everything, because I think the line that's, it's windy tonight, or look what the wind blew in, like, it's said, a variation of that phrase is said like 3 or 4 times. Like, they're constantly talking about it as if, like, there is something spooky in the air. And I don't mind that. My problem is that the ending is just so, like, I don't know, such a stretch in what it does. It's like such a weak, ambiguous thing where Connie goes up to the grave.
Yeah.
He pulls out the knife. It's very windy, and he stabs it into the ground, into the grave specifically. But then it's like he sort of gets, like, he falls over or gets pulled down, and it cuts away. It fades to black, cuts away, whatever. And the other 3 guys from the bar come out, and it's the morning, and they're like, "That's weird. It's morning. He's not back yet. His horse is still there. We're going to have to go check and see what happened." And they go up, and he's lying there dead next to the grave, and his coat has been caught with a knife. Like, when he stabbed the knife into the grave, it's like the tail of his coat was, like, sitting there, and he didn't see it, and he, like, pinned himself to the grave. And Lee Van Cleef theorizes that, well, clearly he didn't see his coat. He stabbed that there because the wind, like, blew it there, and then he essentially, in his mind, thought he was being grabbed when he felt the pull down when he tried to get up, and it basically scared him. His heart gave out because he was too scared. Yeah,
he scared himself to death. Yeah, a man who's supposed to be the symbol of courage scared himself to death from his own mistake.
I found that extremely unsatisfying. in so many ways. And then they do the extra little like creepy things like, well, the wind was blowing from that direction, so it couldn't have been the wind. And I was expecting there'd be like another 5 minutes of the episode, and then Rod Serling started talking, and I was like, wait, really? That's it? That's the ending of the episode? It's a shame, because I actually think like 80% of it's really good.
I do
like, really
too.
strong.
I think it's really strong in its direction. It's written and directed by the same guy.
Mm-hmm. I think both of those elements are really good. I would agree with that.
But and I really like the look of it. Like, it looks like a Western. But I agree. The ending is a little bit of a, it's disappointing. It's it doesn't feel like it earned an episode. I don't know.
I think the problem is that the acting from Marvin and the others is so good, and the sort of the way it draws out all these little like teases of the backstory. I felt like it was building to what, you know, the twist at the end of the episode, the ending moment was going to reveal something about who this dead man really was, or about what his relationship with Connie really was.
Yeah.
And instead it just went for like was there a supernatural coming back from the grave to get him moment? And I just like, this is not what I liked about this. I liked
it. Yeah. I agree. It turned into like a ghost story in the end, but like it's not my favorite. But we haven't really had very many good Western episodes, I guess.
Nah.
Unless you include the Civil War one, that one was pretty good. But like, they do this a lot, probably because Westerns were so popular at the time, and there's a lot of set pieces already built.
Yeah, they can steal stuff from movies and other TV shows. Like, hey, Gunsmoke's got like a saloon over there we can use. Let's go use that.
But they tend to be the weaker episodes that we've watched.
Yeah, I mean, hell, is that famous episode of Star Trek which literally uses like half-done sets from other things just sprinkled around.
It makes sense that there's an ancient Roman planet somewhere out there.
No, but do you remember it's like this is a season 3 episode where there's literally, it's not like even full sets, like they didn't finish building them, and they just came up with some reason in the script why, like, it's just the front of the buildings. There's nothing there. I think Futurama even made fun of that episode when it did the parody one. I think what's so heartbreaking about this episode is that everything about it, even the idea that, you know, there's the specter of the man is kind of still weighing on everyone. Like, he was so important to this town and all the awful things he did and whatever his relationship with this Connie was. And even though it's still dealing with the idea of like his life still being very looming after death, it was never actually kind of like hokey in any way. It was all completely solid, like character reactions and drama and writing. And then the end of the episode just tries to go, oh, maybe a ghost come. And it's just I don't know. I think the ending is really lame. I would still probably say the episode is good otherwise, but not great because the ending lets it down.
Yeah, I mean, I said it's one of the weaker ones, but I mean, it's not like the fever week or anything like that. It's just it's disappointing because like 80% of it's great.
Yeah. Because there's so many little moments, because it's just the way that, like, one of the three guys will say something like, yeah, you know, like, we were waiting for you, but, you know, we all came together and came up with a plan. You know, we solved something. And you just watch the way that Marvin reacts to these little lines, these insinuations, the way he, you know, when he lashes out when the one guy sort of implies he's a coward, like all these little moments and all these little beats in the dialogue, they all feel like they were telling me a story in a way that sometimes we criticize Twilight Zone episodes for just like spinning their wheels for like 5-10 minutes because the big plot moment's not happened yet. That's felt like every single line was telling me something about the characters and like building a mystery.
Yeah, it does a good job of building the town also. Like it feels like a real place.
And I agree, yeah.
Yeah, like the set piece in the bar with all the people that meet, all the characters we meet, they all feel like it's building up what kind of a town this is. I mean, it is a bit of standard Western writing town, but it's also I don't know, like the dialogue that was used. I think this guy probably has written Westerns before. It just felt very real.
Yeah. Honestly, just a much more subdued ending would have been far more intriguing to me. Like, I don't know if like something where when he got to the grave, he actually kind of like touched it and sort of like maybe started crying or something. Like it was actually someone he was going to miss. Like that would have been like an interesting sort of ambiguous. Like, oh, okay, this was far more intriguing than what was there before. Or maybe he doesn't go in. Maybe he is too scared. Or something. I don't know.
Well, he also wrote the premiere of this season.
Okay, Montgomery Pittman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame because
he's done a lot of Western TV shows.
It's a shame because I did think most of it's very good, and then the ending just kind of is a bit of a wet fart.
Yeah. You're right. It just so much of it's so good that you're expecting the ending to land, because it is very much like, what is happening? Why is he so scared?
I mean, it's so
why is everybody so scared? And it just doesn't really deliver on what it was building up.
It's just so confident. It's so confident and reserved the entire time that when the ending just kind of does this like hokey, oh, maybe there was a supernatural thing. It feels so like a betrayal of what the tone and what the atmosphere was up until that point. So, yeah. So, I mean, I think it's good enough for most of it. I'd still sort of say it's at least a solid sort of mid-tier episode, but I'm definitely coming off sounding very negative because I can't really stress enough how much the ending is just so much weaker than the rest of it. But
this guy also directed Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up?
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, saloon and diner, they're not that different in terms of a setting.
Sure.
Yeah, very similar. I can see it. All right. Well, yeah, that was it. I did want to mention though that at the start, Rod Serling did he didn't just the camera didn't just go over to him. He actually walked out of a door. They gave him he had a little bit of a stage direction.
I sort of liked it because everybody with the wind blowing on the set, everybody was like shivering and doing a really good job of conveying just how bitter cold it was outside. And then Rod Serling comes out and he's totally comfortable and it doesn't look like he's in the same place.
Because he's like on a different frequency. He's actually in the Twilight dimension between like their worlds.
He's ethereal. Yeah.
Exactly, yes. So next episode, Rod at the end of course teases the next one.
Which I think we're both looking forward to.
He doesn't say a whole lot about it. He really emphasizes what story it's based on. By Jerome Bixby. But yeah, this is a famous episode coming up. It's called It's a Good Life, and this is one that I think I've actually seen this one before, despite the fact that I haven't seen season 3 before. I don't know how I saw this one. It must have been like just on TV or something, because it was like one of the most
Well, this is a famous one. Actually, the Twilight Zone movie does this one again.
Oh, really? Well, I've not seen the movie either, but yeah, it's a super famous one. So here's the description on IMDb. On an isolated family farm, a young boy with a vast mental powers, but lacking emotional development, holds his terrified family in thrall to his every juvenile wish. So very interesting, and it's funny actually just reading that and just realizing how much of Homelander and the boys is kind of like, obviously he's more inspired by Superman and the idea of an evil Superman, but there's definitely some Homelander in this premise. I'm
sure a lot of people would agree with you. I have not watched The Boys.
That's fair. That's fair. So this is a big one though. So looking forward to basically just discovering how evil this little shit is next episode. So
I believe it's Billy Mumi.
Is it? Oh, it is. Yeah, he was in an episode last season, was he not?
Yes, season 1, I think.
That was another season. It was a phone call one with the Gran, right?
Oh yeah,
that was last season. And I know that
it was Ron Howard was in season 1
because it was a videotape episode, so it had to be season 2.
Right, the dreaded videotape.
Those stick in my mind. How nice is it not having that worry this season? Just
I don't really share that feeling. I know you hated them.
It's freeing. It's freeing just how you don't have to worry that everyone looks good, shot in 35mm film. They're all gorgeous in HD. It's wonderful. So yeah, it's a good life is next time. Let us know what you thought of this episode, The Grave, in the comments, please. You can like and subscribe. Liking super important. It is the easy and free way to support us in everything we do, and let us know you want to keep the content coming. You can, of course, support us somewhere else, can't you, Tara?
That's right. If you'd like to check out our Patreon page, it's patreon.com/MouthFuzzTV, and donating as low as $1 per month will get you access to bonus episodes for our other shows we do, including The Ace, the Atomic Cinema Experiment, which is our science fiction movie review show. So maybe if you like Twilight Zone, you'll check that out too. And if you donate $5 per month, you will get access to these Twilight Zone reviews 1 week early. And you'll also get Babylon 5 1 week early and Star Trek 1 week early. So please go over and check that out. Thank you.
You're getting so cocky at doing that you're starting to like point out things for other shows now too. You're expanding the info, and it was all accurate. To be fair, I'm not critiquing. All very accurate.
I still don't feel like I'm cocky when I say it.
Well, okay, confident. There's more of a confidence there.
Well, I'm glad that came through.
Well, whether you feel it or otherwise.
Right.
But yes, you can catch us on Twitter, of course, at mail_fuzz for channel updates. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV in the Twilight Zone.